Chapter 1. Simple Life, Big Dreams. Jack was a kind-hearted man who lived in a cozy but tiny apartment on the edge of a bustling city. The building was old, with creaky stairs and walls that whispered secrets from years gone by. He shared this small space with his loving wife, Anna, and their two energetic children, a curious 6-year-old daughter named Lily and a playful 8-year-old son named Tommy. Life wasn't filled with luxuries, but it had its own quiet magic. They had just enough food on the table, simple meals like homemade soup and fresh bread from the corner bakery. Their clothes were clean but patched in places, handed down or bought from thrift stores. The roof over their heads kept out the rain, and on stormy nights they huddled together, listening to the patter outside. In the evenings, after a long day at his modest job as a mechanic, Jack would come home to the warm glow of the apartment. The family would gather around their small wooden table, scarred from years of use. Anna would serve dinner with a smile, her hands still smelling of spices from the kitchen. Lily and Tommy would chatter excitedly about their day, Lily describing a butterfly she chased at recess, Tommy boasting about scoring a goal in playground soccer. Jack loved these moments. He'd lean back in his chair, tell a silly joke that made the kids giggle uncontrollably, and Anna would laugh softly, her eyes sparkling as she squeezed his hand under the table. Those simple evenings turned their humble home into a haven of joy, where love filled every corner more than any fancy decor ever could. But deep inside, Jack wasn't fully at peace. As he looked at his family's happy faces, a nagging wish grew in his heart. He wanted more for them, much more. He dreamed of Anna wearing beautiful dresses that made her feel like a queen, of Lily and Tommy having the latest toys and gadgets that their school friends bragged about. He imagined a bigger house with a yard where the kids could run free, ride bikes, and plant flowers. When Jack stepped outside for his daily walks, he'd see wealthy families zipping by in shiny new cars, their laughter echoing from spacious homes with manicured lawns. He'd watch children in those families playing with expensive gadgets, attending fancy schools, and his heart would sink. Comparing his life to theirs, a heavy sadness settled in. Why can't we have that, he'd think. If only we had more money, everything would be so much better. Our problems would vanish, and we'd live without worries. Anna noticed his distant looks and tried to comfort him. "Jack, my dear," she'd say gently one evening, as they washed dishes together, "we have each other. We have love that money can't buy. That's what makes us rich." But Jack would shake his head, his brow furrowed. "Love is wonderful, Anna, but it doesn't pay the bills or give our kids the opportunities they deserve. Love can't buy a better education for Tommy or dance classes for Lily. In this world, money opens doors. Without it, we're stuck." His words stung her like a cold wind, but she bit her lip and stayed silent, hoping time would show him the value of what they already had. She remembered their early days, when they had even less, but laughed more, and her heart ached at the change in him. One quiet night, after the children were tucked into their shared bedroom with stories of adventure still dancing in their heads, Jack sat alone by the window. The city lights twinkled outside like distant stars, mocking his simple life. He stared at the peeling paint on the walls, the faded curtains Anna had sewn herself, the old toys scattered on the floor, hand-me-downs that brought joy, but also reminded him of limitations. He thought about the future. Would Tommy end up in a dead-end job like his? Would Lily's dreams be crushed by lack of chances? A fire ignited in his chest. "No," he whispered to himself, "I won't let that happen. I'll do whatever it takes to get rich. I'll work every waking hour until my family has the life they deserve. A big house, vacations, security." He believed with all his heart that money was the missing piece to perfect happiness, not the simple, loving life they led now. The next morning, as the sun peeked through the curtains, Jack woke with determination. Over breakfast, oatmeal with a splash of milk, He turned to Anna. "I've made a decision," he said firmly. "I'm going to work harder than ever. Extra shifts at the garage, side jobs fixing neighbors' cars, maybe even starting a small business online. 12, 14 hours a day if needed. We'll save every penny until we can afford better." Anna's eyes widened with worry. She reached for his hand across the table. "Jack, please think about this. Don't lose yourself, or us, in the process. We need you here, not just your paycheck. Remember how happy we are now?" But Jack hugged her quickly, his mind already racing ahead. "This is for all of us, Anna. You'll see, one day we'll look back and be grateful." The children, munching on their food, didn't fully understand, but they sensed the shift in the air, like a storm brewing on a clear day. From that moment, Jack threw himself into his plan. He started early at the garage, grease staining his hands as he fixed engines until his muscles screamed. In the evenings, instead of family time, he'd deliver packages around town, weaving through traffic on his old bike. Weekends spent selling handmade repairs online or taking odd jobs. His hands grew calloused, his eyes ringed with dark circles from lack of sleep, but he pushed on relentlessly. At home, Anna waited with dinner growing cold, the kids peeking out the window for his return. When he finally stumbled in, exhausted, there was no energy for stories or games. "Tomorrow," he'd mumble before collapsing into bed. He told himself every ache was a step closer to their dreams. One day they'll thank me for this sacrifice. Weeks turned into months, and the changes crept in slowly, like shadows lengthening at dusk. Jack's savings account began to grow, enough for small upgrades like new school bags for the kids or a nicer coat for Anna. But the family dinners became quieter. Anna ate alone more often, reheating meals in silence. The children stopped running to greet him, their excited stories saved for bedtime with Mom. Jack barely noticed these subtle shifts, his mind consumed by spreadsheets and job listings. He looked at his rough hands one night and smiled proudly. "Every scar is building our future," he thought. But in the quiet moments, a small voice whispered doubts. Doubts he quickly silenced with thoughts of wealth. His body began to protest the endless grind. Aches in his back from bending over cars all day, headaches from staring at screens late into the night. He ignored them, popping painkillers like candy. "Winners don't complain," he'd tell himself. Anna tried again one evening as he wolfed down a late dinner. "Jack, the kids miss you. Lily drew a picture of our family today. You were missing from it." He paused, a flicker of guilt in his eyes, but then shook it off. "It's temporary, Anna. Soon we'll have time for everything." One afternoon, Tommy tugged at his sleeve after school. "Dad, do you love work more than us? You never play anymore." The words hit like a punch, but Jack knelt down with a forced smile. "Buddy, I'm doing this because I love you all so much. You'll understand when you're older. Trust me." Deep down, those innocent words echoed through his nights, but he buried them under his burning ambition, convinced that money would heal any wounds. Little did Jack know his big dreams were planting seeds of a much bigger problem. The warmth in their home was cooling, replaced by the chill of absence. But in his mind he saw only the glittering prize ahead, a life of abundance where every sacrifice would pay off. Like, subscribe, and comment. Chapter 2. The Endless Vow. Jack's promise to himself became the rhythm of his life, beating like a relentless drum. He had sworn to work 14 hours every single day, no exceptions, and he held to it with iron will. His alarm buzzed before dawn, pulling him from shallow sleep into the cold morning air. He'd gulp down coffee, kiss Anna's forehead lightly, if she was awake, and rush out to the garage, where engines waited like puzzles to solve. The day blurred into oil changes, tire rotations, and customer complaints, his hands moving mechanically. Lunch? A quick sandwich eaten standing up. Afternoons melted into evenings as he shifted to delivery gigs, navigating crowded streets with packages stacked high on his bike. Nights? spent in front of a flickering computer screen, listing items for sale online or learning new skills from free videos to boost his income. At first, Jack convinced himself he could balance it all. I'll work hard, but I'll make time for the family, he thought. He'd plan mental notes, help Tommy with homework on Sundays, take Lily to the park midweek. But reality had other plans. Time was a thief, stealing moments one by one. The kids would wait eagerly after school, homework spread out, eyes lighting up at the door's creak. "Dad, can you check my math?" Tommy would ask. "Not now, son. Got a delivery," Jack would reply, grabbing his keys. Anna would suggest a family game night. "Sounds great, love. Tomorrow after work?" But tomorrow brought more jobs, more excuses. Those laters and tomorrows piled up like unpaid bills, never cashed in. The apartment, once buzzing with life, now felt like a waiting room. Everyone was there, but the connection frayed. Anna tried to keep things normal, cooking favorite meals, organizing little surprises like homemade cookies, but without Jack, it felt hollow. She'd remind him gently one rainy evening as he slumped in, soaked from deliveries. "Jack, your vow is weighing us down. You're not smiling like you used to. The kids ask about you every day. We're losing the man we love." He'd rub his temples, exhaustion etching lines on his face. "Anna, I'm building a foundation for us. A better home, better schools. Soon we'll have real happiness, no more scraping by." She saw the fire in his eyes, but also the blindness, like a man staring at the sun too long. Arguing felt pointless. She'd hug him silently, praying he'd wake up before it was too late. Lily, with her big curious eyes, felt the change deepest at first. She'd cry softly into her pillow at night, whispering to her stuffed bear, "Dad doesn't have time for me anymore. Does he still love us?" Tommy, trying to be the big brother, would comfort her. "He's working for us, Lily, but I miss his stories too." He stopped bringing home drawings from school, hiding them in his drawer instead of pinning them on the fridge for Dad's praise. The small rituals that made their home special, bedtime tales of pirates and princesses, weekend pancake breakfasts with silly faces, faded into memories. Jack labeled it all as necessary sacrifice. "They're young. They'll forget the hard times when we're living large," he'd think, ignoring the growing emptiness in his own chest. Money started trickling in more steadily. Jack's efforts paid off. He saved enough to buy new sneakers for Tommy, a pretty necklace for Anna, even a small toy set for Lily. Neighbors noticed and praised him during chance encounters. "Jack, you're a machine. Working like that, you'll be rich soon," old Mr. Thompson from downstairs would say, with a thumbs up. Those words were like fuel, igniting his resolve. He felt proud walking home with a fuller wallet, imagining the day he'd surprise them with a new house. But his health whispered warnings, a persistent cough from dusty garages, sore muscles that never fully recovered. When Anna begged him to see a doctor, he'd snap in frustration. "I can't afford to slow down, Anna. You don't understand what it takes to succeed." Her eyes would fill with tears, but she'd turn away, carrying the burden of his absence alone. One crisp autumn day, Lily came bounding in from school, clutching a ribbon. "Daddy, I won first place in the art contest. Look at my drawing. It's our family under a rainbow." Jack was midway through packing deliveries, phone in hand. "That's amazing, sweetie. Show me properly later. I'm swamped." Her little face crumpled like paper, the joy draining away. That night she showed it to Anna instead, who hugged her tight and whispered praises. Another time Tommy had his first school play, a small role as a tree, but he was thrilled. "Dad, you have to come. Promise?" Jack nodded. "Wouldn't miss it, champ." But a last-minute job call kept him late, and he arrived home to find Tommy in bed, face turned to the wall. "How was it?" Jack asked softly. Tommy mumbled, "Fine," without looking up. A sharp pain twisted in Jack's heart, but he rationalized it. "I'll make it up with something big soon, a trip or a bike." Anna's birthday sneaked up amid the chaos. Jack had jotted a note to buy flowers, but the date slipped by in a haze of work. She waited that evening with a simple cake she'd baked herself, the kids helping light the candles. They sang softly, but her eyes kept darting to the door. When Jack finally burst in, arms full of packages, he froze at the sight. "Oh no, happy birthday, love. I'll get you a gift tomorrow, something special." She forced a smile, blew out the candles, and said nothing as he kissed her cheek. Inside, her heart cracked a little more. The home grew quieter, no loud laughter, no spontaneous dances in the living room. Everyone moved through their days like ghosts in the same space. Jack thought he was forging stronger bonds with every dollar earned, but in truth, each one was unraveling the threads of their family. At night, when exhaustion finally claimed him, doubts would surface like bubbles in water. He'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Lily's sad eyes or Tommy's turned back. Anna's soft sighs in her sleep haunted him. "It's just for now," he'd whisper to the darkness. "When we're rich, everything will snap back, better than before." But his heart didn't fully believe it. The vow had become a cage, locking him in a cycle of endless chase while his real life drifted further away. He couldn't see that the price of his promise was higher than any fortune. Like, subscribe, and comment. Chapter 3. No Time for Hearts. Jack's dream had morphed into an all-consuming fire, burning everything else in its path. Money was his North Star, guiding every decision, every hour. He said yes to every opportunity that came his way. Extra hours at the garage? Yes. A weekend plumbing job for a friend? Absolutely. Late-night online sales calls? Without hesitation. In his mind, each yes to work was a yes to his family's future, but to Anna, Lily, and Tommy, it felt like a resounding no to them, to shared meals, to heartfelt talks, to the simple glue of love that held them together. Anna reached out desperately, trying to pull him back. One sunny afternoon, as he prepared to leave for another shift, she blocked the door gently. "Jack, let's have tea together, just 15 minutes. The kids are playing outside. We can watch them from the window, like old times." He checked his watch, impatience flickering. "I wish I could, Anna, but I have a big repair job. Rain check?" She'd nod, hiding her disappointment, but inside it built like storm clouds. Another evening, she'd suggest a family walk in the park nearby, where the leaves were turning golden. "It'll clear your head, Jack. We all need it." "Tomorrow, I promise," he'd say, already dialing for his next gig. But tomorrow always brought more work, more delays, and the walks never happened. Anna started spending evenings alone on the balcony, sipping tea by herself, her once bright eyes dimming with unspoken sorrow. She missed the man who used to surprise her with wildflowers picked on his way home. The children adapted in their own heartbreaking ways. Lily and Tommy no longer rushed to the door at the sound of his footsteps. They'd glance up briefly, then return to their games or books. Dinners became a routine with just the three of them, Anna dishing out plates while the kids shared school gossip. "Mom, today I learned about stars," Lily would exclaim. Anna would listen attentively, but both kids' eyes would wander to the empty chair, wondering when Dad would join. When Jack finally arrived long after bedtime, he'd tiptoe in, peek at their sleeping forms, and whisper, "This grind is for you, my loves." But whispers in the dark couldn't replace the warmth of his presence during waking hours. One bright Saturday, Tommy burst through the door after school, waving his report card like a flag. "Dad, I got all A's, look!" Jack was hunched over his laptop, fingers flying across keys for an online auction. He glanced up briefly, nodding. "That's my boy. Proud of you. Keep it up." No hug, no excited questions about what he learned. Tommy's shoulders slumped. He wanted celebration, not a distracted pat on the back. He placed the card on the table and slunk away to his room, where he stared at it alone. Later, Anna found it and made a big fuss, but the moment with Dad was lost forever. Lily grew quieter, her bubbly personality retreating like a snail into its shell. She longed to curl up on Jack's lap and spill her school stories, the funny teacher, the new friend, the scraped knee from recess. But every time she approached, notebook in hand, he'd say, "Not now, princess. Dad's busy with something important. She'd nod, biting her lip, and wander off to tell Anna or keep it bottled inside. Over time, her stories grew fewer, her voice softer. One night, as Anna tucked her in, Lily whispered, "Why doesn't Dad listen anymore? Is it because I'm not good enough?" Anna's heart broke. She held her daughter close, assuring her it wasn't true. But the damage was seeding doubt in Lily's young mind. Jack's wife couldn't hold back forever. One stormy night, as thunder rumbled outside, she confronted him in the kitchen. He was eating a cold sandwich, eyes glued to his phone for work emails. "Jack, look at me," she said, voice trembling with pent-up pain. "You're physically here, but your heart and mind are miles away. We need you, the real you, not just the provider. The kids cry for their dad. I miss my husband." Anger bubbled up in him, fueled by fatigue. "Anna, how can you say that? Everything I'm doing is for our future. One day, when we're comfortable, you'll thank me for not giving up." His raised voice echoed, leaving her in stunned silence. She turned away, tears streaming, and he regretted the sharpness immediately. But work called, and he left for a night shift. The argument unresolved. The apartment transformed into a cold shell. No more spontaneous family hugs or inside jokes. Conversations were functional, like "pass the salt" or "good night." Everyone existed in their own bubble. Anna reading alone, kids playing quietly, Jack always on the move. He convinced himself his sacrifices demonstrated profound love, but to his family it screamed abandonment. His health deteriorated subtly. Constant headaches pounding like hammers, hands trembling from overuse, a weariness that sleep couldn't cure. "It's nothing," he'd mutter, downing coffee to push through. The goalpost for enough money kept shifting further. Just a bit more, and he'd stop. But the chase never ended. In the quiet of bedtime, the kids would huddle together. "Dad loves his jobs more than us," Tommy would say bitterly one night. Lily nodded, eyes wide. Maybe if we were richer already, he'd stay. Their words, though childlike, carried heavy truth. They needed his time, his attention, his love, far more than any material gain. Anna's spirit wilted. She stopped wearing the necklace he'd bought, a symbol of his distant efforts. She longed for the Jack who once slow danced with her in the kitchen to no music, when they had little but each other. Now, with savings growing, they felt poorer in every way that mattered. Jack remained oblivious, counting dollars instead of cherished moments. His calendar was packed with tasks, not family events. The vow blinded him to the crumbling hearts around him. He was too busy for love, too entangled in his web of ambition to see the threads snapping one by one, like subscribe and comment. Chapter 4. The Silent Phone. Jack's life had become a whirlwind of endless motion, a blur of jobs that left no room for pause. He left the apartment before the sunrise, his bag slung over his shoulder like a soldier heading to battle. The days stretched long, greasy engines in the morning, frantic deliveries in the afternoon, digital hustles deep into the night. His family had resigned to his absence. The kids no longer asked when he'd be home, and Anna's greetings were brief nods. Jack noticed the growing distance in fleeting moments but brushed it off. "It's temporary," he'd tell himself. "Once we hit our savings goal, I'll make it all right with vacations and quality time." His body sent urgent signals he chose to ignore. Sharp chest pains during heavy lifts, dizzy spells from skipped meals, a fatigue that clung like fog. "Tough it out," he'd grunt, believing rest was for the weak. Anna's health worried him vaguely. She'd been paler lately, her steps slower, complaining of occasional aches. But he was too rushed to probe deeper. She hid her discomfort, not wanting to add to his load, suffering in silence with over-the-counter pills. One ordinary Tuesday afternoon, as Jack wrestled with a stubborn car engine at the garage, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He wiped sweat from his brow and glanced at the screen. It was Anna. Probably needs groceries or something, he thought, silencing it to focus on the task. The phone buzzed again, then a third time. Annoyed, he pressed ignore, muttering, "I'll call back in a bit. She can wait." Back home, Anna clutched her chest in agony, her breath coming in short gasps. The kids were at school. She was alone in the quiet apartment. Vision blurring, she dialed Jack repeatedly, her trembling fingers hoping for his voice. "Please pick up," she whispered through the pain. But the calls went unanswered. Neighbors heard a thud and rushed in, finding her collapsed on the floor. They called an ambulance, sirens wailing as they sped to the hospital. Doctors worked frantically in the ER, but her heart had given out. A sudden attack from years of stress and untreated issues. "If she'd gotten help 15 minutes sooner, we might have saved her," the doctor told the neighbors solemnly. The words hung heavy, a what-if that would haunt forever. Jack wrapped up his shift late, humming tunelessly about the day's earnings. He dreamed of surprising Anna with dinner out soon. Arriving home, he saw the crowd outside, worried faces, hushed whispers. His stomach dropped. Pushing through, he found Lily and Tommy sobbing in a neighbor's arms, the apartment door ajar. "What's going on?" he demanded, voice cracking. Inside, paramedics covered Anna's still form. "No, no," he roared, dropping to his knees beside her. Her face was peaceful, eyes closed as if in gentle sleep. Lily wailed through tears, "Mom called you so many times, Daddy. Why didn't you answer?" Tommy, face red and swollen, added, "She needed you. Maybe you could have gotten her to the doctor in time." Jack's world shattered into a million pieces. He fumbled for his phone, staring at the list of missed calls, each one a dagger. "Oh, God, what have I done?" he sobbed, clutching her cold hand. Neighbors recounted the tragedy, the collapse, the rush, the doctor's regretful words. 15 minutes echoed in his mind like a curse. That night, as the children huddled in their room, comforted by relatives, Jack sat alone in the living room, numb and broken. He stared at the phone, replaying imagined scenes. Anna's desperate dials, her pain when he ignored her. Every ignored plea from the past flooded back. Her requests for time, her warnings about balance. "We need your love, not your money," she'd said so many times. He hadn't listened. Now she was gone forever. No amount of savings could bring her back. The kids blamed him in their grief-stricken eyes, and he couldn't argue. He blamed himself more than words could express. The silent phone became his eternal tormentor, its blank screen a mirror to his failures. It rang in his ears during sleepless nights, a phantom reminder of the call that could have changed everything. Jack had chosen ambition over his wife, and the cost was unbearable. Like, subscribe, and comment. Chapter 5. The Lonely Table. The apartment, once a nest of warmth, now echoed with hollow silence. Jack woke each morning to the empty side of the bed, where Anna's shape still lingered in the sheets like a ghost. But nothing haunted him more than the small wooden table in the kitchen, the heart of their home. It stood there unchanging, but now it was a symbol of loss, a wound that refused to heal. He stared at it over coffee, remembering Anna's laughter as she served meals, her hand brushing his, the kids' chatter filling the air. Now the chairs were pushed in neatly, the surface bare except for dust. That empty chair, hers, screamed accusations. "You weren't there." Lily and Tommy withdrew into shells of grief and anger. They spoke to him in monosyllables. Yes, no, fine. Their eyes avoiding his. Meals were eaten in shifts, the kids with each other or a neighbor, Jack alone later. When he entered a room, conversations halted. Laughter died. He tried to bridge the gap, cooking Anna's favorite pasta one evening. "Come eat with me, kids," he pleaded. They sat reluctantly, poking at their food. The empty chair loomed like a judge. No one spoke of her, but her absence choked the air. Alone at night, Jack crumbled. He'd weep into his hands, clutching Anna's photo from their wedding day, her smile radiant, his arm around her. "I'm so sorry, my love. I should have answered. I should have seen you were hurting." Tears soaked the frame, but guilt remained unwashed. Sleep brought nightmares, missed calls ringing endlessly, Anna's voice fading. Food lost flavor. He'd push plates away untouched. Even the money he'd hoarded mocked him from the bank statements, piles of paper that couldn't buy back time or mend hearts. "What good is this?" he'd mutter, staring at the figures. "It can't fill her chair or erase the pain." One tense dinner, as silence pressed heavy, Lily exploded. "You were always too busy for Mom, Dad. She waited for you every night, but you chose work. Now she's gone forever." Her small fists clenched, tears flowing. Tommy nodded, voice steady, but sharp. "We didn't need fancy things. We needed you and Mom, but you gave us nothing but loneliness." Their words sliced deeper than any knife, leaving Jack breathless. He wanted to explain, "I thought I was helping," but the excuse died on his lips. He knew they were right. He felt like a stranger in his own home, an intruder in their grief. Neighbors whispered in the hallways. Poor Jack chased money and lost his world. Rich now, but utterly alone. The gossip stung, but he deserved it. Shame bowed his head as he walked the streets. Days blurred into a monotonous ache. The lonely table greeted him every morning, a mirror reflecting his regrets. He'd trace the scars on the wood, each one a memory of happier times now tainted. Guilt grew like a tumor, suffocating his every breath. "What's the point of it all?" he'd ask the empty room. One moonlit night, Jack sat facing Anna's chair, as if she were there. "I gave everything to money, but it stole you from me. Forgive me. I failed us all." The chair offered no response, only deepening silence. It became his daily punishment, a reminder that life is built on love and moments, not bank balances. Jack finally saw the truth, but the realization came at the ultimate cost. Like, subscribe, and comment. Chapter 6. Vow by the Stone. The weight of guilt crushed Jack like an invisible boulder, making every day a struggle. The lonely table stabbed his eyes at home. The phone's missed calls burned in his pocket. Lily and Tommy's distant stares cut deepest. Their once loving home, now a battlefield of unspoken blame. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, only exist in a fog of regret. One crisp evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, Jack walked to the cemetery. Flowers clutched in his shaking hands, roses, Anna's favorite. He approached her grave, the stone simple and etched with her name. Kneeling on the damp grass, tears blurred his vision. "Anna, my love, I'm so sorry," he choked out. "I ignored your calls, your pleas for time. You warned me money couldn't buy peace, but I was deaf. You were right. I was so entered at system, so wrong." His body shook with sobs. "I chased illusions and lost the real treasure, you. My ambition killed you as surely as if I'd pulled the trigger." He pounded his chest, pain radiating. The graveyard was serene, birds chirping softly, but Jack felt her presence, her gentle eyes watching. Imagining her voice, soft and forgiving. "We needed your love, Jack, not riches." It broke him further. "I see it now, too late, but I won't let your death be meaningless." With a deep breath he vowed solemnly, "I'll change everything. No more greed, no more endless work. I'll use the money for good, help others who struggle like we did. I'll live simply, rebuild with the kids. This is my promise to you, Anna. I'll honor your memory every day." Strength flowed through him, a spark in the darkness. He lingered for hours, pouring out his soul, regrets, love, plans. "I'll donate to shelters, fund kids' education. No more hoarding, it's poison." Rising finally, legs numb but resolve firm, he walked home under the stars. The kids looked up warily as he entered. Sitting them down, voice steady, he said, "I've been blind, lost in my mistakes, but I'm changing. For Mom, for us. No more chasing wealth. I want our family back, simple and full of love." They didn't respond immediately, eyes curious but guarded. That night Jack slept fitfully, grief still raw but a seed of hope planted. The vow by the stone was his lifeline, a path to redemption. Chapter 7. Giving Back. Jack didn't let his graveside vow fade like morning mist. Each dawn brought renewed purpose, a shift from chasing to giving. For years, money had ruled his heart. Now, peace was his guide. He quit the extra gigs, sold unnecessary gadgets accumulated in his hustle. The funds? Donated to local charities, school supplies for underprivileged kids, meals for homeless families. He volunteered at soup kitchens, ladling hot stew with a genuine smile, seeing gratitude in weary eyes. Each act chipped away at his guilt like sunlight melting ice. The kids were baffled at first. "Dad, why are you giving it all away?" Tommy asked one day, watching Jack pack boxes of clothes for donation. Jack knelt, eyes soft. "Because money without love destroyed us, son. It took your mom. Now it can help others build better lives instead of rotting in our bank." Tears welled in their eyes. For once his words rang true, not empty promises. Jack stayed home more, listening to their stories, apologizing honestly. "I'm sorry for everything," he'd say. "I lost my way, thinking stuff mattered more than you. Can you forgive me?" No excuses, just truth. Slowly, their defenses cracked. One evening, Lily climbed into his lap during story time. "I missed you, Daddy," she whispered, hugging tight. Joy flooded him. This hug was worth more than any fortune. Tommy warmed up too, sharing soccer stories over dinner, even inviting Jack to games. The home began to heal. Laughter returned in bursts, memories of Anna shared with smiles amid tears. Jack would sit with Lily and Tommy, telling them stories of their mom, how Anna used to hum while cooking, how she'd braid Lily's hair with such care, or how she'd cheer the loudest at Tommy's soccer games. These moments weren't just memories, they were bridges, slowly reconnecting the broken pieces of their family. The empty table, once a painful reminder, began to feel a little less heavy. It wasn't full yet, but it was warming up with shared meals and soft laughter. Jack threw himself into his new mission with the same energy he once gave to work. But this time, it wasn't for money. It was for meaning. He visited the local community center, where kids with torn backpacks and hopeful eyes gathered after school. He donated books, pencils, and even paid for a few kids' school fees when their parents couldn't afford it. One little boy, no older than Tommy, hugged Jack's legs after getting a new notebook. "Thank you, Uncle Jack," he beamed. That smile hit Jack like a wave, washing away a sliver of his grief. This is what Anna would have wanted, he thought, picturing her proud nod from above. He didn't stop there. Jack started fixing bikes for neighborhood kids for free, teaching them how to patch tires or tighten chains. "Your mom taught me to share what I know," he'd tell them, his voice catching as he remembered Anna's kindness to everyone. He'd spend weekends at the shelter, serving hot meals to families who reminded him of his own struggles years ago. One cold evening, an elderly woman took a bowl of soup from him and said, "You've got a good heart, Jack. Don't lose it again." Her words stuck, like a promise he'd keep for Anna. At home, things were shifting. Lily started drawing again, leaving pictures on the fridge for Jack, bright sketches of their family, this time with him included under a big sun. Tommy invited him to kick a soccer ball in the park, and Jack, for the first time in years, said yes without hesitation. They laughed as Tommy tripped over the ball, Jack pretending to dive dramatically to save it. These moments weren't grand, but they were gold, real, warm, alive. Jack began to see what Anna meant all along. Peace wasn't in a bank account. It was in these fleeting, precious seconds, but the guilt never fully left. At night, when the kids slept, Jack would sit by the table, staring at Anna's empty chair. "I'm trying, love," he'd whisper. "I'm keeping my promise to you. I'm giving back, living simpler. I hope you see it." He'd visit her grave weekly, bringing fresh roses and stories of his day, how he helped a family with groceries, or how Lily aced her spelling test. "The kids are smiling again," he'd say, voice soft. "I'm not there yet, but I'm closer to the man you loved." The graveyard's quiet felt like her reply, a gentle forgiveness he wasn't sure he deserved. The town noticed the change, too. Where once neighbors whispered about Jack's relentless work, now they spoke of his kindness. "Jack's different," they'd say at the market. "He's not chasing money anymore. He's giving it away. A real good man." But Jack didn't feel like a hero. "I'm just fixing my mistakes," he'd say if anyone praised him. Every smile from a child he helped, every thank you from a struggling parent, felt like a step toward healing, not just for them, but for him. It was Anna's legacy, alive in every small act. The kids began to forgive slowly. One night, as Jack tucked Lily in, she grabbed his hand. "Daddy, I'm glad you're here now. Mom would be happy too." Tears pricked his eyes as he kissed her forehead. Tommy, usually so reserved, started opening up too. "Can we visit Mom's grave together?" he asked one morning. Jack nodded, heart swelling. They stood as a family by Anna's stone, holding hands, sharing quiet memories. The pain was still there, but it was softer, wrapped in love. The home wasn't whole, but it was healing, laughter, stories, and love creeping back like spring after a long winter. Jack learned that true wealth wasn't counted in coins, but in these fragile, beautiful moments. Like, subscribe, and comment. Chapter 8. A New Dawn. Years passed, each one gentler than the last. Jack was no longer the man who ran after money, his days a blur of hustle. Now he moved slower, more deliberately, savoring the life he'd almost lost. The apartment, though still small, felt full again, not with things, but with connection. He woke each morning with a simple question: how can I make today matter? The answer wasn't in work schedules or bank balances, but in small, meaningful acts, reading to Lily, cheering at Tommy's games, helping a neighbor with a flat tire. Jack became a fixture at the community center where kids knew him as Uncle Jack. He'd sit with them, teaching math or fixing their bikes, his hand steady despite the wear of years. Their laughter filled a void in him, each giggle a reminder of what he'd nearly traded away. One girl, shy and always in worn clothes, reminded him so much of Lily at that age. He paid for her art classes, watching her face light up with every new painting. "This is for you, Anna," he'd think, knowing she'd have done the same. At home, the kids grew, Lily now a thoughtful preteen, Tommy a lanky teenager with dreams of soccer stardom. They'd sit together every evening, the table alive with chatter. Jack made it a rule: no phones, no distractions, just them. They'd talk about school, friends, even Anna. "Remember how Mom used to make us dance to her old radio songs?" Tommy said one night, grinning. Lily laughed, mimicking Anna's goofy twirl. Jack joined in, heart aching but warm, telling them how Anna would have loved their silly moves. These nights rebuilt what he'd broken, stitch by stitch. The empty chair remained, but it wasn't a wound anymore. Jack would sometimes sit beside it, talking to Anna as if she were there. "The kids are growing so fast, love. Tommy's got your stubborn streak, Lily's got your kind heart. I'm doing my best to make you proud." He'd smile, imagining her watching, her hand on his shoulder. His health, scarred from years of overwork, was fragile, aches in his joints, a cough that lingered, but peace kept him steady. He didn't fear the future, he lived for the now. One spring evening, Jack sat with Lily and Tommy under the stars on their tiny balcony. The city hummed below, but their world was quiet, complete. "Kids," he said, voice soft but firm, "I made mistakes, big ones. I thought money was everything, but it cost me your mom. Don't ever make that error. Hold tight to what matters: love, family, kindness. That's the real treasure." Lily squeezed his hand, tears in her eyes. "We know, Dad. We love you." Tommy nodded, adding, "You're here now. That's what counts." That night, Jack went to bed with a calm he hadn't felt in years. He dreamed of Anna, her smile as bright as their first day together. She seemed to say, "You found it, Jack, the peace I always wanted for us." He woke with that warmth lingering, a smile on his lips. Days later, the kids found him in his chair by the window, his face serene, hands folded. He'd slipped away quietly, no pain, just peace, as if Anna had called him home. Lily and Tommy wept, but their grief was soft, mixed with gratitude. They remembered his final years, his kindness, his laughter, his love reborn. The town mourned too, sharing stories of Uncle Jack who gave without asking. His legacy wasn't money, but lessons. Don't chase what glitters, hold what glows. Jack left as a man who'd lost much, but found more, not the chaser of wealth, but the keeper of peace. The end. Like, subscribe, and comment.